Welcome back, class. Today we are solving quadratic equations by graphing. To solve these equations, you will need the following. You'll need the vertex, the scale factor, the y-intercept, and axis of symmetry. Let's get started. Problem number 1. Solve the equation by graphing. Y equals x squared minus 6x plus 8. The solutions of the equation are going to be our x values. And to find our x values, we need to graph the problem and figure out what our x-intercepts are. So let's go ahead and graph this. Let's start off by finding the vertex. So in case you forgot, to find the x-coordinate of the vertex, you're going to use x equals negative b over 2a, comma y equals f of x. Let's label our a, b, and c values. A is 1. B is negative 6. And C is positive 8. Now let's take these values and just plug them in. For our x-coordinate, we have x equals negative b over 2a. That's negative 6 divided by 2 times 1. A negative times a negative is a positive, so that's positive 6 over 2 times 1, which is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So the x-coordinate of our vertex is 3. Now let's find our y-coordinate. Take the x-coordinate and plug it into your function. Y equals x squared minus 6x plus 8. So wherever you see an x, you're going to replace that with 3. That's going to give us 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 8. 3 squared is 9. Negative 6 times 3 is negative 18 plus 8. 9 minus 18 is negative 9, and negative 9 plus 8 is negative 1. So the y-coordinate for our vertex is negative 1. Let's take that value and just write it in. The vertex is at 3, negative 1. Now that we've established that, let's go ahead and plot our vertex at 3, negative 1. Label the vertex 3, negative 1. Now let's draw the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry is on x equals 3. Okay? X equals 3. Next step, let's use our scale factor. Step number 2. Scale factor. Our scale factor is 1, which tells me that the parabola opens up and is of regular size. So from the vertex, I want to go 1 unit to the right and 1 unit up because A is 1. If I have a point on the right side, I automatically have a point on the left side. Draw the reflection. So now let's use our y-intercept. Our y-intercept is going to be the c value in our equation. So y equals x squared minus 6x plus 8. The y-intercept is 8. Plot the y-intercept. Your y-intercept is on your y-axis. And notice how the y-intercept is 3 units away from the axis of symmetry, which means that its reflection will also be 3 units away. 1, 2, 3. Now that we have our points, let's draw our graph. And let's answer the question. It says solve the equation by graphing. So what we're looking for are our x-intercepts. Our x-intercepts are on 2 and 4. The solutions are x equals 2 and x equals 4. Another name for solutions are roots. Sometimes we call them zeros. And sometimes we even call them x-intercepts. So if I ask you to find the solutions of the equation, what you're looking for are your x-intercepts. If I asked you to find the roots, you're looking for your x-intercepts. If I asked you to find the zeros, you're looking for your x-intercepts. They all mean the same thing. Once again, the solutions are x equals 2 and x equals 4. This is your answer. Let's move on to problem 2. Solve the equation by graphing. Step number 1, let's identify the vertex. X equals negative b over 2a, comma, y equals f of x. Go ahead and label a, b, and c. A is 1, b is negative 8, and c is 12. Now take your a and b values and plug them in to your formula. For the x coordinate, it's x equals negative b over 2a. So that's negative 8 over 2 times 1, which is a negative times a negative is a positive. So it's positive 8 over 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. The x coordinate of our vertex is at 4. For the y coordinate, take x equals 4 and plug it into your equation. Y equals x squared minus 8x plus 12. Replace the x's with 4. So that's 4 squared minus 8 times 4 plus 12. 4 squared is 16. Minus 8 times 4 is 32, plus 12. 16 minus 32 is negative 16, plus 12. That's going to give us negative 4. The y-coordinate of our vertex is negative 4. Now let's plot our vertex. 4, comma, negative 4. Now we're going to label our vertex 4, comma, negative 4. And then draw our axis of symmetry. Our axis of symmetry is at x equals 4. Now in step number 2, we need to use our scale factor. The scale factor is 1, which tells me that the parabola opens up and is of regular size. So from the vertex, let's go 1 to the right, 1 unit up. 1 to the left, 1 unit up. Let's also include our y-intercept. Step number 3, the y-intercept is at, well, we have y equals x squared minus 8x plus 12. The y-intercept is at positive 12. So let's plot the y-intercept. Notice how my grid doesn't go all the way to 12, so I'll just go ahead and extend it. So I have 10, 11, 12. That's 12. And my y-intercept is 4 units away from my axis of symmetry, which means that its reflection will also be 4 units away. Let me highlight those points just to remind myself that they exist. I have my 5 points, but I have a small problem. The problem is none of these 5 points lie on the x-axis, and as a result, my x-intercepts are missing. Remember, the problem wants us to solve the equation by graphing. Our solutions are the x-intercepts. Now, because they're not there, we're going to have to take this a step further. So step number 4, we're going to have to create a table. And I'll make my table here on the left side. To plot my next point, I want to pick an x value between my axis of symmetry and that very last point. So a number between my axis of symmetry and that last point is 6. Now take the 6 and plug it in. 6 squared minus 8 times 6 plus 12. 6 squared is 36. Negative 8 times 6 is negative 48 plus 12. 36 minus 48 is negative 12. And negative 12 plus 12 is 0. So my next point is at 6, 0. Let's plot a point on 6, 0. If I have a point at 6, 0, I know that I'll automatically have a point on the other side of my axis of symmetry. The reflection is going to fall on 2, 0. Now, if you look at 6, 0 and 2, 0, notice how both of those points are on our x-axis, which is exactly what we want. Those 2 points represent our solutions. So let's draw our curve. I'm going to highlight our solutions, and then I'll go ahead and write out my answer. The solutions are x equals 2 and x equals 6.